Hey everyone, welcome. You know, Five Golden Rings. We all know the song, right? We can all hum that tune in our sleep. But what if I told you that famous carol is really just the festive wrapping paper on a tradition that's way older, way deeper, and honestly, a lot more meaningful? Well, today we're going to unwrap the true story behind the 12 days of Christmas.
So let's just jump right into it with a wild question. What if our entire idea of the 12 days of Christmas, that frantic commercial countdown to December 25th, is completely backward? What if that song we all love has actually been pointing us in the wrong direction for like generations?
And that question, it leads us straight into what you could call the Great Christmas Misunderstanding. We're about to pull the thread on a piece of common knowledge that, it turns out, isn't really common knowledge at all.
Okay, get ready for this because this right here, it flips the entire script. The myth, the thing we all think, is that the 12 days are a countdown to Christmas. But the reality? It's the exact opposite. It's a 12-day feast that begins on Christmas Day. The celebration doesn't end on December 25th, that's when it's just getting started. So, if it didn't come from the song, where did this whole 12-day celebration idea come from? Well, to figure that out, we have to go back, way back. We're going to explore some pretty deep historical roots. Trust me, this is no modern invention. It is an ancient, ancient practice.
And when I say ancient, I mean it. This tradition of celebrating Christmas as an entire season, not just one single day, goes all the way back to the 4th century. Think about that. The early church just knew that an event this important deserved way more than 24 hours of attention.
But why 12 days? Why not 10 or 15? Well, that number, 12, is absolutely packed with meaning. In Christian tradition, 12 represents fullness, a sense of completion. Like the 12 apostles. It wasn't just some random number. It was chosen specifically to signal a complete and whole season of joy.
So, what's actually happening during these 12 days? It's not just about eating leftover turkey for 2 weeks, I promise. Each day has its own purpose, its own flavor. We can actually see this by mapping out what's called a liturgical journey, which is really just a fancy way of saying the planned schedule of feasts that gives the whole season its rhythm.
And this timeline just lays it all out perfectly. Of course, it all kicks off on December 25th with Christmas. But then, boom, the very next day is the feast of St. Stephen, the first Christian martyr. It's this powerful, immediate reminder that joy and sacrifice are so often linked. The season keeps rolling with huge moments like the Solemnity of Mary on January 1st, and it all builds to this grand finale on January 5th, the 12th night, which is basically the big party before the next major feast, the Epiphany.
All right, so we've got the history, we've got the schedule, but what's the big idea? Why structure the calendar this way at all? And that, my friends, brings us to the most profound part of all of this, the core beliefs, the theology that powers this entire season.
And here it is. This is the key. Everything that happens during these 12 days, all the feasting, the celebrations, the quiet reflection, it all orbits around one single central kind of mind-bending mystery, the Incarnation.
So what in the world is the Incarnation? Well, simply put, it's the core Christian belief that God actually entered our world and became one of us, a human being, in the person of Jesus. That is such a massive, profound idea. A single day could never be enough to really take it all in. And that's the point of the 12 days, to give us the time to really sit with that idea and let it sink in.
And from that one central mystery, all these other powerful themes just radiate outward. You see the theme of joy that endures, even through suffering. With the Martyrs' Feast right after Christmas, you see that salvation isn't just for a select few, but for all people. And because this all happens during the darkest days of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, the whole season becomes this incredible symbol of light breaking into the world's darkness. Okay, this is all fantastic history and theology, but how does any of it connect to our lives today, to the traditions we already have? So let's talk about the practical takeaways and how we can actually reclaim the real spirit of this amazing, extended Christmas season. When you look at it this way, it totally reframes our traditions. Feasting with family, singing carols, giving gifts. Historically, these things were never meant to be crammed into one chaotic day and then just stopped. They were meant to be spread out, to be enjoyed and savored across the entire 12-day season, all leading up to those huge 12th night parties. And really, the biggest takeaway is captured perfectly right here. The 12 days of Christmas were never, ever meant to be a stressful countdown. They're a spiritual feast. They are an invitation to slow down, to extend the celebration, and to treat Christmas not as a finish line, but as the starting gun for a whole season of joy and wonder. And that is a tradition worth remembering long after the last drum has stopped drumming.